What's going on, traders? Sandro O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is May 6th, 2021. Please click the like button on this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content, and I will continue to make it for you. Today, we're going to talk about the wild price action in the indices. That was such a crazy ending to the day. We'll go under the hood and check out our sectors and style factors. We'll talk about some of my trades for the day. I definitely put on some contrarian trades today. And then we'll wrap up with some options order flow. Before we jump in, a quick risk disclaimer as always. Nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. And last but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. All right, let's jump in here. And let's take a look. So, oh my gosh, this was wild. Our box scores, we finished out the day plus 0.8% on the S&P 500. We finished up 0.75% on the NASDAQ QQQ. We finished up 0.09% on the small caps, which looked like they were going to slip into the abyss at one point during the day. And then we closed up 0.94% today on the Dow Jones. So, oh my gosh, coming into today's session, my expectations were very muted. Even in our pre-market session, I was like, all right, guys, we don't really know which way this is going to go. I imagine we're going to dance on both sides of this 20-day simple moving average. And I was really expecting, we're just as likely to continue along this downward trend channel than, break out and, be above the monthly value area at this point. So, yeah, let's take a look. This is our monthly value area. You can see we actually closed above it. So I was totally not expecting that. I was thinking we might just kind of hang around in value or really just go lower. But yeah, we're above value now. If you look at our hourly chart, I think this tells the story of the day here. So yeah, yesterday we tagged this weekly value area high and we just couldn't stay inside of it. We actually fell over. So yeah, this morning it was like, oh my gosh, here we go again. We're really falling into the abyss. This could be a market correction off people being concerned about the Federal Reserve tightening up monetary policy. And we ended up just kind of blasting off on high volume here. And that was something that I noticed pretty early on. So this is just like a helpful tip here and something I'm pretty conscious of. So a lot of times when we're in sort of like a downward trending market, like say for instance right here, market really slipped. And you can see as we started to come out and bounce, the bounce occurred on low volume. Then of course into the close, you always get a little bit heavier volume. Same thing here as well, like not really much volume or whatever, that's overnight. But what I noticed was this morning, when this dip was bought, look at the spike in volume here at around 10 o'clock. And then at 11 o'clock, you can see that really continued. But then we had another little scare in the afternoon where it was like, oh man, we might just flop right over. And then really in the last hour of the day, you can see we just had an incredible power hour where, it was like, oh, okay, can we hold inside the weekly value area? But we actually just blasted right off and we cleared the entire weekly value area in 1 hour. So that is really incredible. It's definitely something very special. So yeah, that is undeniably, very bullish. I think, so I noticed, the past few days really looking at put to call ratios, the skew index, a lot of these indicators, it showed, okay, people are getting pretty bearish. Hedge funds did the most selling they've done in quite some time over the past couple sessions here. So I noticed sentiment was definitely getting a little bit more bearish, but it was like, okay, maybe this is just the beginning of a correction, whatever. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of market participants that got completely caught short here. And I think this could lead to another really nice move tomorrow because I just think there's a lot of players off sides now. But yeah, it looks really strong. And then we'll go to our NQ. NQ doesn't look nearly as good. You can see we're still below this monthly value area, but really nice day in NQ as well. And then the Russell, Russell, you can see, held that monthly point of control. So this one, it was like, oh my gosh, we're below the monthly value area. And with these small caps, they are like Teflon. There's some institution that keeps bidding these things whenever they dip. And you can see, yeah, so we held that level, but we're still stuck inside value for the small caps. And then the Dow Jones was our big winner for today. A really decisive breakout above this monthly value area. So the Dow Jones is leading the market. And then we'll take a look here. We're going to go a little bit deeper here. So here's our market breadth. And you can see we closed positive on all these. And throughout the day, this was really oscillating. Today was another one of those weird days. I actually put on some longs throughout the day. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to get caught again where the market slips in the morning, rebounds, and then at the end of the day just dumps again? But, you know, it worked out. Yeah, you can see very positive breadth on all of these. Then when we look at our FinViz heat map, you know, you can see more of the same. These FANG names, we talked about this in our pre-market session where, hey, these FANG names are getting pretty oversold here. So it's like, all right, this really isn't the best location to go short. But who knows if they're just going to, you know, keep sliding or whatever. So this morning was definitely like an awkward point for a lot of these FANG names. You can see these all had really nice bounces. There were pretty much call buyers spamming Apple throughout most of the day. And that one ended up performing very well. You can see the financials all perform very well. Yeah, and really just nice rebounds across the board. You can see there were some select pockets of weakness. We had Pfizer that closed down on the day, Tesla. You can see some of these leisure and travel names. But that's the S&P 500. If we look at our, this is our growth versus value relationship, and then we'll look at our sectors and style factors. So you can see this is, you know, growth versus value. Growth had a stellar outperformance throughout all of 2020. And then you can see throughout 2021, those growth stocks have been giving back that outperformance to value. I find it super interesting. You know, yesterday I was seeing all over, like I tweeted about this. I was like, my feed is full of growth stock investors that are reprimanding other growth stock investors for being long growth stocks. And I just noticed that, like, a lot of times you'll see the sentiment indicators really off. You'll see, you know, people on Twitter, online, friends, you know, that are really like despondent about their growth stocks. And then I saw this in the morning as well, where it's like, okay, historically, these growth stocks have been on a pretty steady trend of outperformance. And along that trend, there are times where value outperforms. Now we are pretty much back inside of this normal trend. So who knows, maybe value just keeps running. But I think this is a logical spot where, you know, we got a bounce in growth stocks here, then very violent, you know, short little fall again where value stocks outperformed. Now that everyone once again is shouting from the rooftop, like, growth stocks are dead, everyone. Don't you see that? Like, stop buying these. You know, I think this could be where a lot of those names actually end up bouncing, where they actually are good buying opportunities, oddly enough. Like, think about, so up here, this was where everyone was telling you growth stock investing is the only way to invest. Value stocks are horrible. Be long, only growth. This, ironically, was the best place to be selling your growth and buying value. Now here, everyone is telling you, no, value is the way, growth is totally dead. You know, you can't invest in growth stocks anymore. That's so 2020. And I think, like, the truth is, like, somewhere in the middle, to be honest. But I think when you get those extremes, a lot of times it helps to be like, oh, okay, now I'll add a little bit of growth, you know, now that it's so worn down. And then if you look at our sectors, yes, you can see financials, materials, home builders are all in our top momentum slots, all with solid performances. Today, it really felt like there was some hedge fund or funds that were just completely giving up the ghost and just, they had their extinction event today. Because there were so many names that were just like down 5%, 10%, 15%, just no problem. And throughout most of the day, there was nobody bidding those names. So you can see a lot of these high growth areas of the market closed down big. They recovered a lot off the lows. But you can see the ARK funds all big red. These blockchain names all red. So yeah, very much a dichotomy in the market today. Then we look at our style factors. You can see high div low vol was the big outperformer today, up 1.4%. But we had every single style factor in the green, which is very strange. At different points during the day, it looked like these could have all closed red. So really interesting stuff. And then also, you know, we had, so a lot of these names, like I'll just show you real quick. So what are some names? Yeah, this ARK just completely in the gutter here. Let me pull this up here. Yeah, so even if you look on this, like this is showing you the Bollinger Bands. This is a multi-standard deviation event in ARK. So this is like incredibly oversold here. And this is where everyone's like, you see, these stocks are horrible. What I noticed, which is kind of interesting, you know, for me, when you evaluate a fund or a fund manager, and this is really just the institutional background of me, like we had, you know, a business unit at Vanguard that was in charge of evaluating these fund managers. They never look at, oh, what's your 6-month performance or what's your monthly performance? They're always looking at, you know, what's your 3-year track record, 5-year, 10-year. They really go really far back because everyone knows it's, unless you're like a day trader, everything's different. Like I said, it depends on your time horizon. But if you do trading as well as investing, you really have to look at the long view because pretty much for every fund manager, their style of investing is going to be in and out of favor at various times during the year, during the economic cycle. So yeah, Cathie Wood, you know, pretty much everyone is, I think there's a lot of people that hate Cathie Wood. I think there's a lot of jealousy over the results that she's achieved. For me, I'm very much like, you know, if somebody can do what she did, you know, I see that as like, you know, you're pretty much like a Michael Jordan or like you know, just one of these stellar, one-of-a-kind individuals. And so for me, it's like even if she underperforms this year, you know, she still has a lot of respect for me for what she's accomplished. But so you can see what I think is really interesting is, so this fund, you know, it's been fantastic. For anybody that's been in it for, you know, a long-term investor, you know, this has delivered stellar returns. Like you can see this one, the performance over the year is up 100%. So that's like amazing. But what I'm noticing is in November, this thing was like trending really nicely. In November, that's where this thing really took off. And it was sort of like that speculative bull run where it was like everybody was going crazy on like the Cathie Wood email and like they were like day trading stocks based off of like long-term investments she was making, and it got really crazy. Now at this point, given this correction, we've pretty much retraced that entire like blow off top. And you can see here on this weekly chart, we just retraced back to this 50 period moving average. We're oversold even on the weekly chart at the lower Bollinger Band. So this, in my opinion, was like, this was a good correction of the excess here. Like when you look at where this thing stopped, you can see. So this thing stopped pretty much like, right at the swing high from November. So yeah, this one, really nice correction here, really oversold. I actually ended up taking some ARK long today. I'll pull up my trades so you can see. Yes, I did a couple different things today. Okay, yes, these are my options trades for today. Early in the morning at about 10:05, I tried day trading some SPY calls. I ended up just scratching those, closed them out for like a penny winner. And I said, I see a VPOC lower, so I took the scratch. And this is actually pretty interesting. This was a good little learning opportunity for me. So I scratched this one. This one could have been a really big winner if I had executed properly. But when I was looking, I believe it's the 5-minute chart. Yeah, so look at this. This was something where when I entered the trade, I saw like, okay, this is getting very oversold. I'll day trade it, and scalp it to the long side. When I did that, I think I did that somewhere around here. Like pretty close to the open. Yeah, it was around like 10 o'clock. And I noticed like, oh shoot, there's actually a VPOC down here. And a lot of times when something is weak or even very strong, the VPOCs, these high volume nodes that haven't been revisited, they often function as pretty much magnets, where it's like, okay, I pretty much know price is going to go there. So I took a scratch when I realized that, and I was like, okay, I'll get out at even. I probably got out like somewhere around this wick, because I know there's this VPOC coming up. Sure enough, the VPOC came. At that point, I wasn't really looking at this anymore. But yeah, it would have been better if I had seen that VPOC ahead of time, and said, hey, I'm going to wait for the VPOC takeout and then go long. That's where this one could have been a really nice trade. But yeah, that's just a learning opportunity for me. So yeah, scratch that one. And then what else here? Yeah, so I took a scratch there, made a penny winner. And then I got long some ARKK, September 17th, 105 strike calls. And, we're just going through ARKK. But yeah, I just think it's pretty oversold here. And the other thing that's kind of interesting, everybody's getting super bearish on this thing. A lot of people want it to blow up. I just see it as like everyone is like obsessed. Like, when will Cathie Wood blow up? And so I'm looking at the max pain where everyone's positioned via options in ARKK. And when I look at this, so the max pain level for tomorrow is much, much higher. So this one could certainly get a bounce. But usually I look at the monthly expiries. And you can see for this upcoming expiry on May 21st, there's put open interest of 226,000 contracts, and there's only call open interest of 68,000 contracts. So a lot of people are saying like, oh man, everyone's going to get killed in ARKK. Meanwhile, like if you're a long-term investor in ARKK, most likely you don't even care about this because like you've been doing so well. These corrections just happen. But even from the trading side of it, it's like, no, people are actually positioned very bearishly on ARKK. So yeah, you can see this. There's a ton of open interest here at this 100 strike. And basically everyone is long these puts. So right now, ARKK is at like 108. For me, I'm like, it's highly likely that those 100 strike puts, the market makers will see to it that those get burned, unless there's some sort of like, really big risk off event, which there could be. Yeah, so I see like, okay, this thing is incredibly oversold, multi-standard deviation event. I see everyone's position short in it. I actually really like the fund for the long term. So this one, it was kind of like, all right, let me just take this as a trade. The other thing, we got some earnings after the close. Roku had a really nice earnings report. And Roku, let me see how Roku is doing. Yeah, so Roku crushed their numbers, and Roku is a top 5 holding in ARKK. So yeah, that will definitely sort of help this one because it's so beaten down and the sentiment is so negative. So we'll have to see. That's definitely like my contrarian trade for the day. And then I closed out a third of my Altria Butterfly for 77 cents. This one, it's a neutral trade. And as I look at it, I'm like, I probably should have just entered like a bullish trade here. Look at this one. It's really turning very nicely. This was down here news that the Biden administration will be limiting the amount of nicotine in cigarettes. And you can see this one. The institutions just kept catching this thing, and they wouldn't let it go. I actually have a Butterfly 47 by 49 by 51. So you can see right now it's pretty much trading right at my center strike, but it's actually looking like Altria could make a break for this upper strike, and I will actually lose money if Altria extends beyond my upper strike. So I took a target in that today. And then, yeah, small target, nothing crazy. And then what else here? Yeah, so for my stock trades, I got long Snowflake. Snowflake is a name that I've never touched before. I know a lot of people love this name. It's basically like a cloud name and data science, and people talk about it like it's the next best thing since sliced bread. Snow, you can see it just IPO'd at an incredible valuation, and pretty much nobody has made money in this thing since it's traded. So yeah, I got, if you think about like the price that I got, um, is essentially like the best price Snow has ever been offered at. And I just saw like, essentially this is the same exact setup as ARK, where it's just incredibly oversold. Um, in this 200 level, I think it's a pretty big psychological level. So yeah, I purchased some Snowflake shares. I think this is like the poster child of like high growth, high valuation names. This one's at a lofty valuation. Um, this is another case where it really looked like some fund was like blowing out with how much of a multi-standard deviation event so many of these stocks had. See, I entered Snow. I closed out 2/3 of my Ethereum trust team. So Ethereum, it's been on a tear, and I had a nice entry in here. But Ethereum, one thing that's on my radar is, okay, so this thing's very extended. And the other thing is we have the Elon Musk SNL coming up this weekend. And I think that definitely has the potential to be a huge sell the news event for Doge. And I'm actually I want to be a little bit cautious. Maybe it ends up being a sell the news event for some of these other cryptocurrencies as well, especially like Ethereum's been on such a nice run. So I closed out 2/3 of my Ethereum trust, and that one was at about like a 50% winner. And that's like literally in a couple weeks. So I mean, if Ethereum still runs, I still have my piece that I left on, like my runner. But I didn't want to get too greedy either and just hold. So I closed that one out for about like a 50% winner. Then I closed out NGA. NGA, it's a SPAC it's merging with Lion Electric, which is an EV bus company. And I think it's a really interesting company actually. But NGA, it just didn't really do what I was expecting it to do. There was a headline, Biden saying like, hey, we're going to provide money for more, electric buses and, commercial vehicles. Didn't really react the way I expected it to. So I stopped out of this one. And we'll see. I like the name. Maybe at some point I'll re-enter if the setup's a little bit better. But yeah, it just didn't really work out. And I want to leave room for something else. EXPC, I added to my position for $8.93. And I've done, pretty deep dive analysis on EXPC. I actually like where this company is going. They're sort of like the Uber of, aerial vehicles. And this name, I also think this one is probably like some fund blowing up. I really don't know. But EXPC, this is a SPAC, should trade at that $10 par value. It got all the way down to $8.50. And look at this incredible volume. They are actually changing the ticker on this name next week, and it's going to de-SPAC. But yeah, they just had some nice headlines too. This WISC to provide and operate up to 30 electric vehicle aircraft for key Blade urban air mobility routes. So this isn't, in my opinion, it's not really like some scam company. I actually like the company. And the CEO is super forthright. And I think I'm going to be having a conversation with somebody from their investor relations group, and I'll just get to ask them some questions. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I purchased a little bit more of my EXPC, and then I got long some Playboy. I took a big position in Playboy because I really want this to be one of my core holdings. Playboy is a name that I traded about a month ago and was able to rip a really nice winner in this one. And this one, it just keeps running. So it's in a really nice trend. One thing I am working on right now is like I noticed a lot of the trades that I've been doing that have not been working. I'm trading names that are not like the strongest names. So it's something where as we go through the month, I want to focus on like, okay, what's really strong? Like I put on some contrarian trades today, but I want to make sure that I'm trading the strength. Playboy is one of those names where it's been in a really nice trend. And every time it's pulled back, it's been a nice buying opportunity. So I took some Playboy long. Um, and that's about it for my trades for today. When we look really quick at our options order flow, this video is already very long. Tomorrow I'm going to make it a little bit shorter, but there's just a lot to talk about today. So I see here nothing in particular. We had some Uber activity. I see somebody's buying calls and plug power. That one to me looks like pretty dead. You can see some ARK puts going up, essentially like on the lows here. And then Triple M, let's take a look at that one. We'll take a look at Triple M and COF. Oh wow, this Triple M is incredibly bullish here. And yeah, like all green candles. And then COF. Wow, yeah, this one as well. These banks are really going crazy. So at this point, we'll close out with this. You know, this is where everyone is going to tell you, hey, you know, value stocks are the way to go. You can't invest in growth. And they're going to tell you that at this really inopportune buy point here. Because you can see just how extended this is. Well, with that being said, that about does it for this market recap. Hope you all had an awesome trading day, and I will see you all in our pre-market session tomorrow.